Welcome to English with Zenko Master. Get ready to learn something new today.
My name is Eliza. I am 26 years old, and my life is not easy. My mother is sick, and her care is expensive. I work long days as a cleaner in the morning and at a small cafe in the evening. Every day feels like a mountain I must climb, and every night I fall into bed exhausted. But I keep going. I have no choice. One Friday evening, my friend Clara invited me to a party. I said no at first. I was tired and I didn't have anything nice to wear. But she insisted, saying I needed a break. She lent me a black dress and helped me with my hair. The party was in a part of the city I had never been to before. Big houses, perfect gardens, shiny cars. It felt like another world. Clara knew someone from her university who now worked in finance and hosted this event. The house was full of well-dressed people, laughing and drinking wine I could not even pronounce. I stood near a tall bookshelf, feeling like a stranger. That's when I saw him. A tall man in a gray suit was watching me. He had silver hair and calm, serious eyes. People seemed to move around him with care, like he was important. I didn't know his name then. Later, I learned he was Mr. Adrian Holt, a private investor, very rich and very private. After the party, rain poured heavily from the sky. I stepped outside, hoping to catch a bus, but there were no taxis and my coat was thin. Then I heard a voice. "Do you need a ride?" he asked. It was Mr. Holt. He stood by a black car with dark windows. I hesitated, but the rain was cold, and I had no umbrella. I said yes. In the car, the silence was heavy. Then he asked, "Are you hungry?" Before I could answer, he told the driver to take us to a restaurant. It was beautiful inside. Soft lights, golden decorations, a piano in the corner. I had never been anywhere like it. He didn't ask about my job or my life. He just watched me. I felt small in that fancy place, like I didn't belong. After the meal, he said, "Eliza, I can see your life is difficult. I am a man with many resources. I don't have family or attachments. But sometimes I want someone to sit with me, to be there. I can offer you comfort, security, a home. I will take care of everything. Your bills, your mother's treatment, your future. In return, I want you to stay by my side." His voice was low, almost businesslike. No smile, no emotion. It didn't sound like romance. It sounded like a deal. I looked at him. I didn't know this man. I didn't know what kind of person he was. But in my mind, I saw my mother coughing in bed. I thought of the rent notices on our kitchen table. And I said yes. That's how it began. The next week, my world changed. He sent a driver to collect me. I was given a new wardrobe, my hair done at an expensive salon, and taken to a large house outside the city. It had wide stairs, tall glass windows, and a garden I could get lost in. Everything was quiet. Everything smelled clean. too clean. He gave me a letter, typed and signed. "I want loyalty," he said, "not love. I have no interest in your past, and I do not want questions about mine. In return, you will be taken care of. There is a monthly allowance. There are rules. If you accept, sign this." It was a contract. It felt strange to sign something about my own life, but I did it. At first, I told myself it was only for my mother, for her treatment, for her peace. I wasn't doing this for love or luxury. It was survival. But soon I started to feel something. Not love, not hate. Just a strange closeness to this man who never really looked at me, who never laughed or cried. He would sit for hours reading papers or staring out the window. His coldness confused me. The house was big but felt empty. I had everything I needed, more than I ever dreamed, but I felt trapped. One day, I walked past his study. The door was half open. On the desk was a small picture frame. I stepped closer. It was a woman. She had red hair, soft eyes, and a smile that looked real. I had never seen that smile on him. He said he had no family. So who was she? That evening I asked him. "Mr. Holt," I said, careful with my words, "there is a photo in your study of a woman. Is she someone close to you?" He looked at me. His face turned stiff. Then, with no words, he walked into the study, closed the drawer with the photo, and left the room. That was the end of the conversation. Later, the housekeeper, a quiet woman named Mrs. Lorna, spoke to me while we were folding laundry. "Miss Eliza," she said softly, "please, be careful here. Not everything in this house is what it seems. Mr. Holt, he has secrets. Be smart." Her eyes looked tired, like she had seen things she wished she could forget. From that day on, I started noticing small things. Locked rooms, letters that arrived without names, calls he took behind closed doors. Then, one evening, he came to me again. "Eliza," he said, "I have a request." He sat down across from me, his fingers pressed together. "I need to get married. Legally." I felt cold. "You want to marry me?" I asked. "Yes, on paper. Not for emotion, for a business deal. Having a wife helps a certain partnership go through. Nothing in our lives will change. You'll still live here. You'll still have your allowance, but legally, you'll be my wife. Just in name. Will you do this?" I didn't know what to say. Marriage was something sacred in my mind, but he was offering me nothing more than another contract, another mask to wear. I thought again of my mother, of the hospital. I said yes. The ceremony was small. A lawyer, Mrs. Lorna, and us. I wore a dress someone picked for me. It looked beautiful, but I felt nothing. It wasn't a wedding. It was a performance. After the marriage, I became Mrs. Holt. In public, we went to dinners, business events. People looked at me with curiosity. The quiet girl beside the powerful man. They called me lucky, but inside, I felt like a shadow. I lived in a mansion, but I missed my small room in the noisy part of town. At least there, I was real. One day, everything changed again. I went to his office to bring him lunch. As I stepped inside, I heard shouting from the hallway. A woman's voice. "You lied to me, Adrian. You said you would marry me. We were together for years." I froze. Then she saw me. Her eyes widened. "You," she hissed. "You took my place. You stole everything." Her name was Carla, and according to her, she was with him before me. She was the one he promised to marry, but now I was his wife, on paper. I stood there, frozen, and I realized I didn't know who I had married, and I had no idea what I had stepped into. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. Carla's words stayed with me. She wasn't just angry, she was broken. And her eyes told me that she once believed Adrian Holt would give her everything. Just like he had told me he'd provide for my mother. Just like he promised safety and comfort. That evening, he came home as if nothing had happened. He sat by the fire and read the newspaper. I watched him, hoping he would mention the woman at his office. But he didn't. He acted like it never happened. Later that night, I saw his phone on the kitchen counter while he stepped into the other room. I didn't mean to look, but my hand moved before I could stop it. There were messages. Not just from Carla, but from others. Women I had never heard of. Some messages were old, some recent. They used soft words. "Miss you. Call me. I waited for you." I put the phone back and walked upstairs slowly. My heart was heavy. I felt foolish. I wasn't a wife. I was a cover story. I thought about my choices. I remembered the contract, the quiet meals, the photo on the desk. I remembered how he never asked about me, never showed kindness that wasn't calculated. I was just a part of his plan, but I still had a mind. I still had my strength. And if he thought I was just a quiet girl who signed papers and smiled for photos, he was wrong. The next day, I went into the city. I took the car, but not to go shopping like he thought. I found someone, a private investigator named Rowan Moss. He had kind eyes and a quiet voice. He asked me to sit. "I want to know about my husband," I said. He looked at me for a long moment. Most people come to me when something already feels wrong. I nodded. I gave him the address, his company's name, and the few things I knew. Then I gave him money. It was money from Adrian, but this time I used it for truth, not perfume or clothes. Rowan promised to call me within a week. While I waited, I kept playing the role Adrian expected. I sat beside him at dinners. I smiled when he introduced me as his wife. I listened quietly while others praised him. But inside, I was building something. Each night, I read. I searched the drawers in the library, opened books that were rarely touched. Some were about finance, others about law. I didn't understand all the words, but I took notes. I was learning the world he thought I could never enter. 7 days later, Rowan called. "Eliza," he said, "we need to meet in person." My hand shook as I arrived at his small office. He sat across from me and placed a folder on the table. "Your husband is not just wealthy," he said. "He's clever. He moves money between fake companies, uses names that don't belong to him. He covers his path very well." I looked at the folder. It was full of documents, contracts, account names, reports. "He has women in the past," Rowan continued. "Many of them. Some worked for him. Others were like you, quiet, without family, or in need of help. He gave them homes and money, but none stayed. Some left. Some disappeared." I felt cold. "Also," Rowan said, "this company here, Holt International Logistics, it's in your name. It was added to your marriage documents." He made it look like a formality, but legally, you own it. He may have planned to change that later, but right now, it's yours. My mind was spinning. I remembered signing those papers, not reading everything. I thought they were about the marriage, but inside them was a company. I asked Rowan what that meant. "It means," he said, "you have something he wants. And he made a mistake." When I got home that night, Adrian was on a phone call. He smiled when he saw me. A small, fake smile. The kind that hides more than it shows. I returned it with one of my own. From that day on, I changed. Not loudly. Quietly. I kept playing the wife. I made sure the public saw us together. I held his arm. I wore the ring. I attended the events. But behind every smile, I was planning. Every night, I reviewed the papers Rowan gave me. I spoke to lawyers in secret. I began learning what the company did, how it moved money, how it tied to the others. It was like walking into a dark room and slowly turning on the lights. I knew he had no idea. He thought I was too simple, too sweet. He thought I was his quiet little wife who said yes to everything. That made it easier. One day, I called my mother. "Your treatment," I said, "is covered for the next year. The private doctor is arranged." She cried. I cried too. But not for the same reason. She thought I was living a lucky life. She didn't know the silence I lived in, the truth I carried alone. Then the day came. It was our anniversary. 1 year of living in his house. 1 year of walking on eggshells. And 1 year of pretending. He came home with flowers. "Happy anniversary, Eliza," he said. I took the flowers. Their smell was too sweet. I looked at him and saw everything clearly. "Adrian," Edie said. It was the first time I used his name. He paused, surprised. "I know." He narrowed his eyes. "Know what?" "I know about Carla. I know about the others. I know about your business, your hidden names, the money. And I know about the company that's now mine." He didn't speak. His face turned red. His hand closed into a fist. "You went through my things?" "No," I said. "I learned. You gave me the money. You gave me the papers. I just read them." He moved forward, voice sharp. "You don't understand how this works." "Oh, I do," I replied. "Better than you think. And now, it's over." I took the envelope from my bag. Inside were divorce papers and legal papers confirming my ownership of Holt International Logistics. "You can have your suits, your house, your phone full of women," I said. "I'm leaving, and I'm keeping the company." He stared at the documents. He didn't touch them. "You were nothing," he whispered. "I gave you everything." "You gave me money," I said, "and I used it to build something better, something real. You wanted a puppet, but I was learning every day." For the first time, he looked unsure, not angry, just exposed. I didn't wait for more words. I left the house without the jewelry, without the designer bags. I left behind the woman he tried to create, and I walked toward the woman I was becoming. After I walked out of Adrian's house, I didn't cry. I didn't shake or second-guess myself. I took a deep breath, and I kept walking. I had waited for this moment for too long to feel fear now. I had a quiet apartment waiting for me on the other side of the city. It was small, nothing like the big house I had lived in, but it was mine. Every item in it, every decision, every wall, it was all mine. I had found the apartment weeks earlier and paid for it in cash. Adrian didn't know. He thought I was too busy decorating the guest room or choosing wine glasses for his parties. That's what he wanted to believe. And I let him. The next morning, I woke up early. The bed was stiff, the air cold, but I felt alive. I made tea and watched the sky grow brighter through the window. For the first time in a year, I had no one waiting for me, no fake smile to wear, no secrets to carry in silence. But the freedom wasn't complete yet. I met with my lawyer that same day. Her name was Mia Jang. She was young, brilliant, and sharp. I showed her the documents Rowan had found. The company in my name, the financial trail, the paper trail Adrian had carelessly left behind. Mia studied the papers for an hour. Then she looked at me and said, "You have something solid here. If you want to take control, legally and fully, now is the time." So we began the work. It wasn't easy. There were forms to file, reports to clean, and accounts to open. I had never managed a company before, but I wasn't doing it alone. I asked Mia to help me build a team. Quietly, we brought in accountants and advisors who knew how to untangle the kind of mess Adrian left behind. At the same time, I sent my mother to a new clinic. She didn't ask where the money came from. She had seen me suffer, and now she saw me well. That was enough for her. She smiled more often. Her voice was stronger. Her doctor told me her recovery was finally moving forward. A week later, Adrian tried to call me. I didn't answer. Then he sent a message. "Eliza, we need to talk. You're making a mistake." I ignored it. Then came the letter. A long page of carefully written words asking me to come back. It spoke of forgiveness, of misunderstanding, of how hard business had been lately. He even mentioned my mother's health, as if he still had any place in that story. I didn't reply. Instead, I visited Rowan again. "I want to protect everything I now have," I said. "Make sure he can't touch it." Rowan nodded. "I thought you might say that. He's already trying to access the company accounts. But the law is on your side." It wasn't about revenge. I didn't want to hurt him. I wanted to make sure he couldn't hurt anyone else, especially me. A few days later, I saw Adrian in person again. It wasn't planned. I was leaving a bank meeting when he stepped out of a black car. He didn't look as polished as before. His tie was loose, and his face looked tired. "Eliza," he said quickly, walking toward me. "You can't just disappear like that." I stood still. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie," he said. "I gave you everything. You gave me silence, secrets, a role to play. You never gave me honesty." He looked angry now. "You're my wife." "On paper," I said. "By your own words, remember? It was just business." He looked around, lowered his voice. "You don't know what you're doing. That company." "I do know," I said calmly. "That's why I'm keeping it." He stepped back. His face changed. He realized then that he had no control over me anymore. The girl who signed his contract was gone. I turned and walked away. The days after that were quiet. The legal process moved forward. The company was officially separated from his network. His lawyers sent papers, but Mia handled them. I started working from a small office near the sea. I hired 2 assistants and a part-time financial advisor. Every morning I came in early. Every evening I left late. I wanted to learn, not just to survive, but to grow. I didn't want to be a shadow in someone else's world again. One afternoon, Mia called me. Her voice sounded calm but firm. "Eliza," she said, "a government team is opening an investigation into Holt Holdings. Tax fraud, false reporting, offshore accounts. What you uncovered helped start this." I sat in silence for a moment. "What happens now?" I asked. "They'll dig," she said. People like Adrian. Eventually, they leave too many marks. I didn't feel joy. I didn't smile. But I did feel peace. I had done what I needed to do, not for revenge, but for truth. And for the girl who once sat in a restaurant, scared and hungry, listening to a man offer her money in exchange for silence. Months passed. My company began doing something Adrian's never had: honest work. We helped local businesses move goods across the country. We opened new jobs in small towns. I kept the name Holt International Logistics, not as a tribute, but as a lesson. Sometimes people asked if I had been married. I was, I said, briefly, and that was enough. One morning I visited my mother. We sat in the garden of her clinic. She wore a warm blanket and smiled at the flowers. "You seem happy, Eliza," she said. "I am. You've changed." "I had to," I said. "But I'm still me." That night, I went for a walk by the sea. The waves were calm and the sky was clear. I sat on a bench and watched the light slowly disappear. I thought about the girl I had been, the woman I was now. I thought of Adrian, of that big empty house, of the photo on his desk. I wondered if he ever looked at it anymore. I didn't need an answer, because this was my life now, built not on lies or contracts, but on truth and learning and starting again. He thought I was stupid. He thought I would stay silent. He thought I would break. But he didn't know me, and now he never will.